Hey guys, welcome to this part 8 of the video tutorial. Today in this video tutorial what you're going to be learning is about materials and how to get certain material effects on your model. Alright, so for example, of course we're going to be using Vray materials. So it allows us to create materials like this, like standard material for chair, for wood, for concrete, for metals, and also you're going to be learning on how to create material for curtains, something that is translucent a bit. And you're going to be also creating a self-illuminated materials, so that you can, if you want to do decoration for neon lights or any sort of self-illuminated materials, right, like this. So yeah, I'm going to be teaching you about that too. Glass materials, how to access and edit the settings of the material to create glass effects, and also a bit about translucent materials, right? So something that you can do to create something that is a little bit transparent, right? Translucency is something that is light can go in a little amount into a solid volume, like for example our skin, milk in a glass, like a jade here, right? Yeah, things like that, or maybe candle, those kind of things, right? So hopefully what I'll be teaching you in this tutorial will cover a lot about how to edit your material settings so that you can get the kind of effects on materials that you want, right? Okay, so what I have here is the file tutorial for the materials, right, which I will provide to you, and you're going to be learning it together with me. So just to give you a heads up of what is in here is a few models. We got a few replicated sculpture models, right? We got a floor, we got something that resembles a little bit like a curtain, right? So we're going to apply a curtain material here. This is just a wall, so that you can see how light reacts to it. And you also have two lights. One is let's say the outdoor lights that represents the sunlight. One is the interior lights, which have lesser strength. So in overall result, it's it's gonna look something like this. I'm gonna render this out, hit the render production. So this is the default settings. I mean, like, we haven't applied any V-Ray material. These are all standard 3D Max materials. As you can see, the curtain material is not translucent. A certain amount of light doesn't go through the fabric of the curtains, and it doesn't even look like a fabric. So everything is just still basic. Alright. Okay, so the light I'm using here is the V-Ray light. Alright, V-Ray lights. These have more stronger multiplier, and the one inside have lesser, about 5. And what else? Alright, render settings. Render settings, hit the render settings button here. So what I have is, under the GI, I enable the GI and use irradiance map for primary engine, and secondary engine is the light catch. Alright, and I haven't done any, it's just still default. no other settings is played around. Okay, under the V-Ray tab, all right, nothing has changed. Yeah, I did change a bit about the minimum subdivision. I put it to 4, and maximum I put it to 8, just to bump up the quality of the samples. And I'm using the adaptive sampling for my image sampler. Alright, so I'm going to close this. Now, the how to access material is by clicking on this icon over here, right? And you get a material, slate material editor. Alright, a shortcut key for this is also hitting the M. Alright, hitting the M, then you get the same slate material editor open for you. So these are materials, but it looks a bit too complex and all this stuff. These are a new material editor, but for beginners, usually I prefer teaching the students on how to use the compact material editor, which is a little bit more simpler, less confusing. So how to change to compact material editor is by going to modes and then compact material editor. So you see this, but you might not see a lot of these balls here. It's because the amount of the balls, you can actually set that as how you want it by just right clicking on any of the one balls. Just right clicking like this. So by default it was 3 by 2. So if you want, it's actually have the same 24 material. It's our material slot, but you can see more by right clicking and go 6 by 4. So you got about 4, 6, right? So overall you got about 24 materials, and each material slot you can assign to the model. Alright, and the thing is, you might be thinking, hey, 24 materials only, what if I need more? Don't worry about that. I will come to that towards the end of the this video tutorial. Okay, first we concentrate on the first slot. So the first thing we want to do is we want to explore the standard materials. All right, so I'm going to apply to one of this. I'm going to name this. Select the slot, and here you see standard. These are using standard 3D Max material. We're going to be using a standard V-Ray material instead, since we heavily going to be using V-Ray for our interior design rendering job. So click on the standard, and it allows you to choose other types of materials. Right, so the one that we're going to use is under V-Ray. Okay, these are all standard from 3D Max. This one below is V-Ray. I'm going to scroll down, and the standard one is called V-Ray MTL material. Right, you got a lot of other things here, but I'm not going to be able to cover all of this. I'm going to be covering V-Ray material and V-Ray two-sided materials for the curtain. The rest is up to you to explore. All right, so but this is a good start. All right, so always V-Ray standard material, V-Ray MTL is very, very flexible. So I'm going to use V-Ray MTL and click OK. So as soon as when you click, you'll see the name here is no longer standard, and the menu here changes. All right, it's changed a bit. Actually changed a lot. All right, so now we are accessing the materials for V-Ray specific. Now, the way to assign material to an object is fairly simple. Alright, so what you do is you click and hold the selected material slot. Let's say the first one here. Click and hold your left mouse button and drag, okay, until you see like this. Click and hold it, do not let go your mouse. and then release it at the model that you want to assign to. See that? Now it's same gray color. Now it builds connection between the materials and the model. Okay, I'm gonna undo that. Another way to do it is this one is very useful if you want to assign one material to multiple objects, is by first selecting the let's say two models, or if you have 100, just make sure you select them first, and then make sure you select your material that you want to assign to, and then you can click on this button here, assign material to selection. Right, there you go. See, it assigned straight away. Alright, those are the two ways that you can assign material to a model. I'm going to undo that again. Right, so I'm just going to drag and drop the first one to say here. Okay. So I'm going to rename my material here so I know what material is what, by clicking on this name here. Okay, just give a name. So this is going to be, this is going to put that standard. Standard mat stands for materials. Okay, and let's see what we can do with the properties in this material slot. So you got diffuse. Okay, so I'm going to go from top to bottom, but I'm not going to cover all of this. I'm going to pinpoint all the most essential one that you're going to be using. All right, diffuse. Start with diffuse. So what is diffuse? Diffuse is actually your color of the surface. Right now it's gray color, and you see some color box here. You can actually click on the color box, and you can have this color selector. All right, so they got two controls here. One is the slider up and down, and the one is in the middle here. So you can pick your primary colors, and even to the shades of darker red or darker purples. Let's say I want it to be maybe darker purples, and I can even make it darker by adjusting the handle here. Okay, when I release my mouse, you see the changes start to take effects. These are the color, these are the current, this is the current color, this is what's gonna happen, what's next, right? I mean the color that you choose. So hit OK, and now you got your purple color. Alright, okay, so that is I will show you later on more about this area here, so that you can have a color that not actually just a plain color. You can have like a wood, a brick, or those kind of things. You're adding textures to it, but that will come later. Right, now I'm gonna render this out. Okay, just gonna click render so you can see the effects. So you can see the render will take a longer time. It depends on how what's your settings. If you put it too high, you get a nice render effect, but you have to sacrifice longer time to render. So the concept here is very simple. If you want nicer renders, it will take longer. If you want a very rough and fast render, it's going to look very, very, very rough and not so nice. Alright, as you can see, a very nice looking shades here. Alright, so I'm gonna, while doing this, I'm going to also hit Shift F to frame my shots, because in my render settings, okay, here my render size is actually down here under output size. I am choosing 8:6. Alright, so I'm gonna make it smaller a bit, so I will render more faster. 640 times 480. Alright, so just the render size is going to be smaller a bit. Of course, there's a preset here that you can choose with other things, but yeah, I'm going to render about this size, and I'm going to close this. And when I hit Shift F just now, it's actually cropping my window size here to 640 times 480. Alright, okay, so I'm going to open this back. I'm gonna zoom into it a bit and do one more time render. See, stated here is 640 times 480. So we're going to let it finish. Got nice shadows, shades and highlights and mid-tones. Alright, done. Another thing, while you're doing your test render, usually when you play with material, you have to constantly render and see how it looks like in the final, render. So what you should do to save time is, if you already don't move your camera, don't move your perspective view. So what you do is, you need to save time. You don't want to keep on rendering the same site here and waste time. You want to focus on the one that you just want to update on the areas that you need. So for this, I'm going to be activating region render. So when I click on this, I can draw a square box like this, click and drag, and it will only render this area and it will not render the other parts. Alright, so when I click render, there's another render button here or here. See, it will just render and update this area only, so you don't have, so the render time will be more faster, so you can check and get the result more better and faster. Okay, that's very handy. Now I'll put this aside. Now let's see roughness. So what is roughness? Roughness is actually let's say right now is 0, so which means the surface is not considered to be rough. If you put a value of maximum to 1, you can also double click on the material here, so we'll expand and show you a bigger balls of the materials, so you can see it closer. Notice when I change the value back to 0, I have more shaded sphere, but if I put it a little bit higher, about 0.8, you start to see it start to look a bit more matte and rough. So roughness is actually, when you increase the value, it will actually simulate effects like the surface is accumulating dust, like the surface of the moon, like our skin, like maybe the rough surface of a plastic. It's not really shiny, it's very matte, very rough. Yeah, those kind of effects that you want to have. So this is about roughness. So I'm gonna put about 0.6, and I'm gonna render and show you the effects. Although you might not see any different here, but there is. The surface looks a bit more matte, like some smartphone casing, the covers that have a bit more matte surface, more grip, rubbery. Alright, so that's about roughness if you want to adjust that. So I'm going to put back to 0. Now let's go down to reflection. Okay, now reflection, there are a lot of controls here under this area. It started out with reflects color. Okay, so reflection means of course it will add reflection to your surface and make it more shiny. Alright, for example here, if right now the color is black, so when I render you get this effect. Alright, it is not reflective. So if you want to make it reflective, so you have to click on it, you have to play within the black and the white value. So if I put it a little bit more white, not really pure white, just a little bit more lighter gray like this, and I hit OK, of course you don't see any effect here, but you can also see the effect without even rendering it yet. You can see it in the ball material preview here by clicking on this one, background. Alright, this will create a background so that the ball will interact with the background, so to give you the sense of the reflective of the surface. And we can also see it now if we render it. There you go, see, nice and very, very, very porcelain, very, look a bit more glass, those kind of effects. Alright, so it depends on how much you put here. If you put pure white, it will be more stronger, and when you render, you will see the strength of the reflectiveness towards the background here is more stronger. Alright. And remember, you still have the purple color as the base and reflection over there. Now, what if you want to make, you don't want it to be, you want it to be purple, but you want it to be more stronger than this, like almost a mirror like kind of effects. What you can do is, let's say the base is purple, but the reflectiveness is very strong, like almost a mirror. So if you want to do that, you need to turn off Fresnel refractions. When you uncheck the Fresnel reflection, you can see the difference here. When I check on, see you got some purple there. Check off, it doesn't take into account. So what is Fresnel reflection? If you turn it, Fresnel reflection, if you turn it on, it's actually will adjust the material reflectiveness, the strength of the reflection based on where you look at. So if I look at it in front this way, most of the front part will receive more reflection and those kind of things. Whatever to the side here will start to fade off. You can see it in the ball here. So, but if you turn it off, it will just be just like a mirror by default. Right? So just be as clear as that. When I render that again, you start to see, you even lose the purpleness of the base color. You will just absorb whatever is surrounding it and just render that out. Right? You see black here is because the background on the other side, there's nothing there, it's just black. And the white here is the light square. So you get a one-to-one reflective, just like a mirror. Alright? Alright, so another thing that is very, very useful here is the R glossiness, which means reflect glossiness. So reflect glossiness have a value here. So if I by default it's 1, so which means the glossy is pure like a mirror. If I want to make the reflection a little bit more blurrier, like more blur a bit, I can actually lower it down, say 0.5. As you can see now, things are start to blur. Maybe a bit too strong. I'm going to put about 0.8. Alright, and let's render and see the effects. Okay, as you can see, the reflection here is more blurrier. Alright, like a frosted glass or something like that. You can actually have control on that. So the lower you put, the more blurrier it's going to get. It just blurs out everything. It looks like a frosted glass. Okay, so I'm gonna turn on Fresnel reflection, and let's render that with the Fresnel reflection. See, it looks a bit more different. There's a little bit subtle reflection here. It looks a bit frosted, but it still have that strong purple color. Another thing is you can play around with this. If with the value of 1 just now, the reflection is sharp, but if you want to make, if you put 0.8, you start to see some strong highlights here that when you render out, so the surface is a bit more shiny, the highlight is a bit more stronger. Alright, and if you put 0.6, now it looks a bit more matte. To a point of it looks a bit more rubbery. So you can play around with the R reflection glossiness here. Now you will see this H glossiness here, right? The H glossiness stands for highlight glossiness. So highlight glossiness usually right now you see is darken, and it's actually, you can adjust the value because it's actually locked. You see the word L here is actually pressed. It's actually locked to the reflect coloration and the R glossiness. So it has so you don't have to change that. It's like automatic. But if you want to get your hand dirty and do it manually and not let Vray decide what's the value of this, you can always unlock this by clicking on the L, and you start to see different shapes here a bit. If you put it down, so the value of 1, we just make it matte. Okay, let's say the R glossiness, I put it back to 1. Then I can actually make adjust my highlights coloration to what I want. But if you put 1, it's just nothing happening there. But if you put lower than that, about 0.8, you start to see the highlights. And if you click down like that, you start to see the highlight become more sort of a matte. So this is how you can get control of this. So when I render this now, it looks there's a strong reflection, but the highlight is matte. It's matte here. Right, if you put it higher a bit to a point of 0.8, and when you render that out, you will start to see a little bit more highlights over here. Alright, so you can get your hand dirty on that. But if you don't want to deal with that, usually you just leave Vray to do it for you. Just make sure you enable the locked, and when you play with R glossiness, it will automatically have that application on that surface over there. Alright, so that's covered about this area here, about reflects. Yeah, another thing is the subdiff. Subdiff is the quality of your reflection. Okay, let's say if I bumped it up to, you can bump it up to how much you want, but be careful when you bump this up. It will make your render more slower. So for usually I just put about 16 or 32. 32 is really quite high, but you can try 16 and make the render quality more nicer. Right, things look a little bit more sharper. There's a few changes here and there. But sometimes you need to bump this up. Sometimes 8 should be enough. Now, we're going to skip to the next one here. Is reflection. Alright, I mean refraction. Then down here under the refraction area. So let's say now we have a solid object that we can control the shininess and the reflectiveness of the surface. But let's say you want to make it a glass or transparent. Usually when you deal with transparent objects, the objects will also transparent and refract. Refract means, like if you look under the water, just show the image again. Sorry, not this one. Right, if you look at glass, see this distortion of volume here. These are all light goes through the volume of the glass and it get refracted. Right, so you see all these kind of effects going on here, plus the reflection that you see on the glass, because the glass is a smooth surface. When it's smooth, you have reflection. Right, so going back here, so if you want to make things transparent and refractive, you can go down under refract and adjust the color here. Black is solid. If you put lower than that, you get transparency. If you put all the way to the white, it becomes super transparent. I can even render that and show you. So as you can see, the model is actually now a fully transparent glass with plus the reflection applied to it. You still see the highlights here. I mean the reflective lights here, but the glass is pure transparent. And because the glass is a very thick volume, right? You might not see it here sometimes. It's a bit funny here, but when you select, the model is actually there because it's super transparent. Usually when you deal with those kind of things, you might want to hit the F4 so you can see the wireframe of your transparent model. If without the F4, you don't see it unless you select the object. Alright, so yeah, I'm gonna put it semi-transparent. So when I render this up, I can still see the tint color of the base color, the purple, right? But the object is already a transparent glass, but with a slight tint of purple. That's how you kind of do the effects over there. All right. Let's move on to the subdiv is the quality of your refractive. If you feel you need more, you just kindly bump it up. Alright, but of course when you bump it up, it will slow down your render. It will take longer to render your image. Now I'm going to leave it to 8. Then we are going to this section here, which is a glossiness under refract. So basically, if the value is the default value is 1, you cannot go higher than that. It will make the refractiveness here will be more sharper. I mean, it will be really sharp, just like the reflection. Just like our glossiness, it make the reflection sharp. And you know, like if you lower it down, your reflection will become blur. Same like this part here, glossiness. If you lower it down, it will make the reflection more blur. So let's render that out. So I'm putting it from 1 to, I change it to 0.6, and I'm going to render that out. See, you take longer time to actually perform this render, because your computer have to calculate more. So you see less refractiveness. If I put 0.8 or maybe 0.9, just try 0.9. This tutorial will be, I think, the longest tutorial because we have to do some rendering time here. I'll try to cut it out in the edit later. So see here, now our refractiveness is more blurrier, right? You can improve this. You see some noise here. You can improve this by increasing the subdivision, but of course it will take longer time to render that out. Yeah, so I'm gonna put that back to 1, so it's a sharp transparent refractiveness. And now let's check the IOR. So what is IOR? Alright, IOR is, it determines on how your highlights bends. Alright, so for example, if the default here is 0.6, so when I render, you get that same effects. But if I put it 1 and I render that out, you will see the object is, it lacks the refractiveness. It has a bit, but it's like a ghost kind of reflect. I mean, it's kind of ghost kind of transparency. You can use this for a non-glass transparency object, maybe like a plastic or a transparent paper. You can use this for these settings, right? But if you go lower, 0.8, you will see a different type of refractiveness. You start to see here there's another layer of round shape material. You start to see the another inner shape of the sculpture here. So it gives you kind of different effect of refraction. But if you go above 1 for IOR, like 1.2, then the refraction will kind of bloat. It will be like a bloat of how light bends inside it. Usually just stick to 1.6, but if you want to adjust it to however you want, go ahead, just play around with that. Okay, alright, so I'm gonna put it back to 1.6. So now I'm gonna assign another material to this object over here. So I'm gonna select another materials. I'm gonna put this as light object and matte, and I'm gonna just click and drag and put it here to assign it. Change it to Vray MTL, and I will put this, let's say I want a yellow, a little bit more bright yellow kind of object lights. So this object will be a light. Alright, I'm going to zoom out a bit. Now I'm going to focus on this area down here, which is the self illumination. Okay, so right now it's black, so when I render this it's not going to be, we're not going to have, I'm going to cancel this render region here, turn it off. So they're going to render that out. Okay, it's just normal shaded, yellow shaded model. I'm going to cancel this. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to make the object illuminate by itself. So by changing the color from black to other colors. Let's say you can go white, but then you don't have that yellow anymore. So what I will do is I will use the color picker down here. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click the color box beside the self illumination, and I'm going to choose the almost that same yellow color. Alright, maybe a slightly more lighter. Hit OK, and when I render it now, you will see the light illuminate as if like the surface is its own light. See that glowing rim around the bottom, and even some yellow is reflected here and also here, and even some of the curtains. Right, so if you want a stronger lights, you can increase the multiplier here to 1.2, and you can render that again, and it will become more brighter. It will multiply the light's energy. There you go. Alright, you can also try and exaggerate that by putting it to 3, and I don't know, putting it to 2, and just render that and see what happens. As you can see, the light become very strong. Still have that yellowness of the surface of the light, but because it's strong, and it's almost a little bit more white on the surface. But you can see how strong that is over there. You can put a darker yellow and just render that out and see what kind of effect it will do. There you go. Now you got more stronger yellow and a stronger light bounce towards the area here. And of course, doing so, it will take longer time to render that out. Okay, so that is about the illuminated lights. The next part here is the curtain. Okay, now the curtain here, I think before I go to the curtain, I want to apply another material here to this one. Alright, to the next one here, but this one is just going to be a standard materials. I mean a material, standard V-Ray materials. It's going to give it maybe blue color. It's going to have it a little bit, it's not going to be transparent, it's just going to be a little bit more shiny a bit. It's like that. And now I got 3 different objects. So one is a bit more glass, one is a light source, and the other one is a bit more matte, almost like a matte plastic kind of surface or rubbery. Alright, so 3 distinct different material, and I'm gonna make another material for the floor. Now with the floor material, I'm gonna introduce you to importing, instead of having a just one color, solid color, we're gonna make the floor look a bit more wood. So I'm gonna select another material here. I'm gonna name this as wood floor mat. I'm gonna assign this to the floor, and I'm gonna change this again to the V-Ray MTL. And under the diffuse, instead of changing the color here, I'm gonna click on the square box beside it. Alright, this allows us to put another different type of coloration. So I don't want to use any of, you got a lot you can choose, you can explore, there's a lot to explore here, but what I want is actually the V-Ray, the bitmap. So I'm going to use the bitmap. I'm going to show that again. You click this just now. Wait, I'm just going to clear that out. Okay, so diffuse, click on the box beside it. Choose under the standard category, bitmap. So double click on that, and it will pop up a browser. So I'm going to go ahead and browse for the texture I supplied to you. Which is tutorial 3D models, under textures, the wooden floor. Alright, so open. Right, then how it works here now is, you see the menu change because this is inside the bitmap, so it's like a web page. You can go back to the main menu by clicking on this button over here, go to parent, it will go back to the main page. You can also see there's an M word here. M word indicates you are putting something inside there. It's no longer an empty slot. Alright, when you click that M, it will open back the bitmap that we choose. Alright, and you can also see the bitmap location. This is the wooden floor. If you want to change to other things, you can click here and reassign other image. Alright, so I'm going to cancel because I want to use the wooden floor. I will go back to the main menu. If I close this one and double click on this material slot, I will start to see my wooden image. Now I'm going to apply it to the floor. I already applied this material to the floor, but it is not visible. So how to make this visible in the viewport here is, you can click on this button over here, show shaded material in viewport. There you go. Alright, so you got a wooden floor here. Okay. Later on I will teach you how to adjust the wooden floor tiles. Right now it is just fixed with this amount of size. That one will be covered in the next video, in the other parts of the video. So now let's render and see. Right now you see you got a wooden floor here, but there's still some value that we can tweak in order to make it look more wooden shellac. Right now it's just like it looks flat. All right. Okay, the first thing is we need to have depth to it. Okay, before we do that, we're gonna adjust the glossiness of it first. So our glossiness, I'm gonna bring that down so it looks a bit more shiny. Oh wait, we don't have we need to add reflection value a little bit in order to be able to see it. Okay, so I'm gonna put it about here. Our glossiness right now, I'm gonna put it back. I'm gonna put it to make it a bit more matte, so 0.7, 0.8 should be fine. Let's try and render that out again, and gonna see that. Great, now you start to see some highlights, some shininess highlights towards the surface. Now it looks a bit more kind of like smooth shellac kind of wooden floor. See some reflection here. There's a good effect there with the help of the Fresnel reflection. Very nice highlights over there. Okay, cool. Looks more nicer now. But one thing is missing is the depth on the wood. You see the wood plank here? You see the color, but it's as if like you have that, you know, the like a wallpaper, or the, you know, it's just like a wallpaper. You just print a wooden shape, a wooden image, and then you just put it on the floor like that. All right. So it doesn't have that kind of depth. So we're gonna add some depth to that. So to add some depth to that, we need the help of a bump map, textures. So I'm gonna open this back to our texture files. So far we only have this wooden floor image. It's just a color image. We need to have another version for as a bump map, BUMP bump map. Alright, so we need to make this into a black and white color. So with this we need the help of Photoshop. Alright, so I'm gonna open Adobe Photoshop. Alright, and I will drag and drop this wooden floor in the workspace. Alright, it's a simple it's a basic one. It's a simple steps. So right now I'm going to convert this into black and white. So go to image, go to image, adjustment, and then choose desaturate. There you go. You start to see all these black things become black and white. And I can also adjust the black and white value by going to image, adjustment. I can try curve. I can play with the curve like that, just to make the line here more pronounced. Okay, or you can push it up. Or another thing you can do is applying I hit cancel just now. So another thing you can do is use level. You got this 3 bar here, I mean this, so you can actually increase the white. Just to make that a bit more pronounced. Just play around with that. Hit OK. And we can save it as a different image. So I'm going to go to File, Save As, under the same folder, wooden floor, but this time I'm going to put BUMP, bump. This is the bump map. So save as JPEG, save, put to maximum quality, and I hit OK. Alright, so that part is done. So I'm going back to 3D Studio Max. I'm going to go to my material here. I'll go back to my main menu. I am at the main menu right now. Then I'm going to put that into a bump map slot. You can't find any bump map here, but you can find it under the maps down here. You see maps, hit the plus button here, or click the the map name, and you will come across bump down here. Alright, the default value right now is 30. We can adjust that later. So you see the next to it is none. So click on the none button and use bitmap, because if you want to export outside image inside 3D Studio Max, you have to choose bitmap. So double click on that, choose the wooden floor bump, open it. Alright, now you see more different effect, right? So now let's render that. I'm going to go back to main menu first before I render that. I will adjust this percentage here. So when I render that, you will see more realistic wooden floor. See that textures on the surface there? It creates more realism to it. See, all the light will scatter based on the wood. Alright. Yeah, the value here you can increase or decrease. If I put 80, you will see the effect here is more pronounced, but that's a bit too much, a bit too rough for a wooden floor. So I'm going to put it about 20%, just a little bit subtle, and I'm going to do that final render again and see how it looks like. Right now it looks more nice and realistic, more soft on the surface there. Right, feel free to adjust the value that you need in order to get the right outcome. Okay, so now we come across, I'm going to give just a standard material to these two walls here. Now we come across to our last segment, which is on this part here, to make the translucent curtain. Alright, we can't use our, for this I'm gonna name this wall first. Right, for this I'm gonna use the second the next slot, number 6. I'm gonna name this as curtain, right, and I'm gonna apply it to the curtain model. And for this, we're not going to be able to use Vray material, Vray MTL, for this to get the effect. We need to change it because it's just a plain object. Alright, a plain object. We need to have a two-sided material. So we're going to use Vray two-sided MTL for this to create a curtain effect. Hit OK. It will say, do you want to keep the standard material or you want to discard the old materials? Alright, so I choose to discard and hit OK. So what you have now is black, right, because there's nothing there. So first you got your front, and then you got your back materials. So you got your translucency value here. Now you need to add a new material in the front slot. So click none and then choose Vray MTL. Okay, when I go back to the go to parent buttons, I have a Vray MTL. Back material will be nothing, and that's it. Alright, so I'm going to add the curtain textures, which is this one, to our inside our color slot in the Vray MTL. So I'm going to click the Vray MTL, and under the diffuse, same thing again, click at the box here, and I'm going to choose bitmap, of course, and browse my curtain diffuse. Double click on that. So I'm going to hit go back to parents and make sure the material is visible in the viewport. So yeah, that's your curtain there. We'll adjust the look of the curtain later in the next video, in the UV WMAP tutorial. But for now, I'm going to go back to the main menu of the material. Let's render and see what we have so far. So hit render. There you go. Look at that. That's a nice transparent fabric materials. You just have that translucency towards the fabric. the dark area here is blocked by the wall, but light still goes through it in the open area of the curtain. Right, so I'm gonna stop there a bit. You can also adjust the translucency if that's not what you want. You can, if you want to have lesser translucent, you can drop it down to 60 instead of 100 and render that again. I'm going to cancel that. I'm going to drop it a little bit more to 40% and render that out. There you go. Now you start to see that the fabric is not too thin. You still see those threads on the fabrics on the surface there. Of course, if you have faster processor, it'll be more faster to render. There you go. That's your render effects, the materials for these tutorials. So you got your illuminated lights, you got your glass reflective materials, you have your solid rubbery matte objects, you got your flooring done, and you got your curtain done. So that can cover this tutorial here. This can be enough for you to go on ahead with the completing the interior design video to interior design exercises or your assignment or your projects. This will give you good grounding for you to explore more. Alright, so there's always a lot of things there to cover, but this is a good basic and essential one that you need. Alright, so I see you on the next video where we cover about the UVW maps. You will understand that later in the video. Alright, so if you like it, do put like on my video and do subscribe on my channel, and thank you. I see you in the next video. Bye bye.